Hi folks, welcome to this podcast. So to let you know, today's topics will be children's mental health, including young people's mental health in general, blended families, and if we've time, we'll be talking about relationships. I'm delighted to have Gill Turner here with me today. Hi, Gill.
Hi.
Good stuff. And Jill, we're just going to get straight into it.
Yeah, go for it.
Blended families. So,
oh, yes.
Oh, yes, because this is more and more. Look, this is the situation today. And what's your thoughts about that? What's the difficulties you've come across and what you find actually helps in blended families?
I always remember my first case working with a blended family many years ago.
Okay.
A lovely couple, delightful, and they were in their 40s and they were in love and they'd been in relationships before that hadn't worked and they'd both got children and they were really excited. They'd built this great big house and they stuck the two families in, and she said, I thought it was going to be like the Waltons. And actually, what she described as more like a documentary on World War II.
Oh, no, Jill. Okay.
Because I think sometimes the two adults who fall in love, don't realise that everybody else in the family is not in love.
That's a fair point, I think. Harsh, but a fair point, yeah.
So it's thinking carefully and talking to the children. And a lot depends on the ages of children.
Yeah.
You know, you can't inflict things on people. You have to kind of get them on board. And again, when we're in love with somebody, you know, all common sense goes out the window.
Yeah.
But we need to be talking about, well, what role are you going to play in my children's life?
Yes.
Because I always say if a child is over the age of 2 and there's a natural parent on the scene, you cannot do parent replacement.
Okay.
So if the child's got a natural father or a natural mother and they're over the age of about 2, you cannot start replacing the mother or the father. So it's having that conversation about, well, what role do you want me to play in our children's lives? And I think the best one is I've been part of a step family. I had a stepfather and I've been a stepmother. So I've had it from both ends, really.
Sure, yeah.
And it's about, being their friend, if anything, supporting the other parent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, supporting them, but not being. Quite often you get people coming, right, I'm going to put these children in order. I'm going to sort them out. They're going to be in bed by this. They've got to do their homework by that. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You have to support the parent.
Yeah.
Be the kids' friends, but a lot depends on the ages of the children, what they've experienced, what other parents are in the background. So each case is individual, but it's having that conversation before you make the decision of, we're going to buy a big house and move the two families in together. Let's,
Absolutely, Jill. I've come across that a lot in my practice too as well, that almost like people go in with the rose-tinted glasses, that they think, oh, it's going to be one big happy family. And if you think about what a pressure, because nobody is one big happy family. Where sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. We're learning, as we go along. And even like those parenting styles, I think sometimes it can be helpful when two adults come together to know how they were parented when they grew up, because oftentimes they will mirror those styles or they will want to do the complete opposite depending on how they experience that. And then it is important almost beforehand to figure out, do you have similar styles kind of now, even if the person isn't a parent, but that they come in as a friend role. There's no point in coming as a friend and telling the child, to do everything. Do you know what I mean? That's just not going to work. And so it is kind of being aware of your own approach towards whether it's parenting, being a role model, being a friend, But I always think it comes down to involving the children. I say this time and time again, that the more that you can get them on board and involve them and make them part of it. So have a family meeting, but don't tell them how it's going to be. Ask them how would they like to be, what chores would they like to do, even if they don't like chores, but what do they, what did they don't mind doing, or it's their,
What do they need?
yeah, and kind of working together as a family, you're working together. Again, it goes back to doing to or doing with. And imagine yourself in their shoes. How would you want to be? Because it can be confusing for children, and they're adapting to new ways, and I think checking in as well, kind of how they do, how are we doing as a family?
Is this working?
Exactly what's working, what's not. And it is that listening, actually, Jill, like obviously, like in my own training and in your own training as well, Jill, we're taught to kind of say back what the person has said. And that's the thing, is you don't have to agree if you disagree with them. You don't have to just go along with them, but you can hear them by saying back what they've said and go, okay, I can see what you're saying.
But, yeah, you might not agree with it, but we tend to go into judging it, don't we? And
yes,
disagreeing with it.
Yeah. I'd like to mention at this point that on my YouTube channel, there is a load of videos about do you react or respond, and about listening to hear or listening to respond. There's a brilliant video about empathy that Brené Brown did. Absolutely brilliant video that's highlighted in one of my stories with Sheila's, or else it's a tip of the week video. But what I'll do is I'll get Ben to put some of those links in the write-up for this podcast, so people can have a look at that. Because that's the thing, Jill, like there is so much learning out there. Do you know what I mean? There's nobody gives us the manual.
Yeah. And blended families, it's like one family system overlapping another.
Yes.
And it means the clue's in the name, blended, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to blend together. And quite often you have, well, my way's right. Well, no, my way's right.
Yes.
Well, we've always done it like this.
Yes.
Rather than, okay, how's this going to work? But if you put yourself in the shoes of a, say, 13-year-old girl, teenager, whose parents have split up a few years ago, you kind of, things are settling down, and you see your dad whenever, and you've got your own room and you've got it how you want, and then your mum falls in love and this man comes in and they decide that he's going to move in, and you've suddenly got to share your room with another stepsister.
Yeah.
You didn't bargain for.
You didn't ask for that as a young person,
And you have to move over, and you have to let somebody in your life, and put yourself in their shoes. It would be quite devastating, wouldn't it? And then we wonder why they're being so awkward.
Do you think parents judge too quickly, Jill?
I think we all judge too quickly.
I think that, that's why we love the fact that nobody's the expert, that we don't believe that for a second. It kind of leads nitrogen into relationships in general, into, couples relationships. I mean, like, it's interesting, actually. I do a lot kind of family trees and what's known as genograms. So especially when I have couples come together and there's a lot of miscommunication, that sometimes we will map out their family tree, but then we'll also look at how their upbringing was. We talk about the system, the family system, what were the unwritten rules, what were the messages. We don't show our feelings, we don't talk about feelings. Well, good luck with that later on in life, but it can sometimes highlight how some people, that they come from good intentions, but sometimes it's not that they don't want to show their feelings. If we use that as an example, sometimes they can't, or they haven't learned.
Don't know how
to do that. And certainly one of the things when it comes to couples relationships, I would really advise any adult person to do is to do the love languages test. Find out what is your love language, and I will put that in the link. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. absolutely.
Do you want to say more about
Yeah. I do a lot of work with couples, and
yeah.
and I always ask the people what they need from a relationship, and I
Mm.
have to ban the word love, I'm afraid, because it means so many different things to so many different people.
Yes, yeah.
Or if they do bring it in, I'll say, okay, let's break it down.
Yeah.
How would you know you're being loved?
Mm-hmm.
What has to happen before you feel loved? And then people can kind of understand from that what their love language is. And that will go back to their family stories, won't it? Well, how love was portrayed, how they grew up with love.
Yeah, just to let the listeners know that the love languages is how you experience love. So some people, they might have been told they were loved, but some people might have been shown they were loved by gifts and things being done for them. And there's lots of different kind of love languages, and it's just important to be aware of what your experience of love, how that was shown or not shown, and because that can cause a lot of miscommunications where you might have one person a couple of days, he doesn't care about me, but he's just doing what he knows.
Yeah. And, with couples, I mean, you see a lot that they kind of come in and, I guess we all do this, don't we? We think we're normal. Yeah. I mean, how many times do you hear, what kind of upbringing you do? Oh, normal. I've got no idea what that means.
Yeah, I think we've established that there's no such thing as normal. Okay.
And, so it's I'm okay. I just need you to change him. Or I just need you to change her. Right? Okay. Told you what's wrong. Now you sort them out. You quite often get that. And I think, oh, gosh. But it's the moment that person realizes, actually, I have a part to play in this. And I need to learn to do things differently. If I want my partner to react differently to me, I've got to think about what can I do that's going to create more of that reaction that I need. And then when they both start making changes, hey ho, happy days, we're on our way. So
it's taking responsibility for your own part to play within the relationship, because that's the whole thing. There's two people in that relationship, that it might be people that have multiple partners. Obviously, this day and age, it's whatever suits the individual. At the same time, it is just about looking about your own behaviours and what part are you playing in that.
And then things will change.
Yes.
Because you can't change other people, but you can change yourself.
You can change you, absolutely. What's the common issues you come across with working with couples?
Communication, not talking.
Okay.
Not expressing themselves, not really. I think we do think we're normal. And we why don't you get it? Why don't you just do things my way? Because my way is right.
Do you think that's actually because as people, we only know our own way. We only know what we know just based on our own limited experience.
Exactly.
And in a way, it's kind of arrogant for any of us to think, that somebody else is going to have exactly the same mindset and the same thinking. They haven't had the same experiences as us. Why should they, actually?
And even if it's somebody that's lived across the road and you've grown up with them, you're going to have differences. And that's the key thing is, there's no one's right, no one's wrong. You're different.
Yeah. I remember you saying to me, it's very funny, folks, I must tell you that when I have supervision with Gill, I have to edit it down on comments before I go back to my clients. Because believe you me, Gill has been very polite. And of course you are, Gill. When we have our actual supervision sessions, oh my God, that she says how it is. And I remember one time coming out and just saying, well, look, do they want to be right or do they want to be happy?
Yes. Because you can't be both.
You can't be both, And but it is quite. I mean, I love that, Jill, because you always know when you stand with you speak your mind, and there is an element of that. You know what I mean? Like that. It is kind of arrogant for any of us to think that we're right about everything.
Or naive.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not arrogance; it's naivety, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
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 And your thing about listening and communication, I mean, that's something with couples I see a lot. The one half of the couple is talking and expressing their experience of something, and you can actively see the other person start judging what's being said, start thinking whether that's right, whether it's wrong, that didn't happen that way. And they're already then thinking about how they're going to respond and tell that person they were wrong. And all the time they're doing that, they've stopped actually listening to the person. So what I try and encourage people to do is switch off that mechanism of judging what's being said, and whether you agree with it or how you're going to forget it. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. All that matters is your partner is expressing how they feel. You need to let them know you understand that. You might not agree with it, but you get it.
Absolutely, because most of the times people, they just want to be heard. So it is so important, as you say, Jill, that when your partner is speaking, that you just shut up your mind, all that sort of defensiveness and all of that, and get ready to, when you did this tit for tat behavior type thing, and actually just stop and just listen to what they're saying. And that's why that paraphrasing, like I know for yourself, Jill, you have like the spoon technique. I don't know what you used to call the spoon technique.
Walking stick.
A stick. Well,
very badly named, isn't it? I always say, don't use a stick or a stone when you're having difficult conversations.
You might have called it a whip technique.
It's not my name for it. It's the name of the exercise.
Okay, absolutely. No, we're not condoning anybody should beat each other with a stick.
No.
Let's put that out there. Well, basically, you can use a pen, spoon,
a cushion.
A cushion, whatever you want to use. And when the person is holding that item, it is their turn to talk. And they might say something like, okay, that when this happened, I felt like that you didn't care about me. And then it might be a case of then you hand the cushion, whatever it is, to the person, and they might say something like, okay, so what I'm hearing is that when this happened, that you felt like that I didn't care about you.
I try to remove the word you out of these.
Sure.
Because the moment you say you, you're kind of doing that, aren't you?
Pointing the finger.
Yeah.
If you're listening to the audio, Jill is pointing the finger. What would you recommend, Jill?
I'd always try and do it from the I perspective.
Okay.
I feel, I think, I want, I need, I would like. But the moment you say you did this, what happens? You can almost see the other person glaze over.
Yes, because it's like an accusation. It's like, absolutely. And the other person's just going to get defensive. Whereas if you continue to own your own feelings, your own behavior, it allows a bit more openness for it to be received. So what we're saying here is to own your own feelings and behavior rather than putting it on the other person. And that allows then for them maybe to have a listen to what you're saying, actually.
Yeah. Because they'll just start getting defensive and they stop listening.
And you see that
they're going to respond back, don't they? Well, you did this.
Yes. Definitely that technique about repeating back what somebody has said. Do you know,
in your own words, though, just not parrot fashion, but. Okay, I get that. What you're trying to say is so that person knows you've really listened. Going back to the teenager where the parent says something 6 times. I always say you get this with couples, and it's quite often, I'm not being sexist, but it's quite often she nags. She keeps saying this and I say, okay, somebody keeps saying something, it's because they don't feel they're being heard.
Yeah.
So, if you just listen to them and acknowledge that that's how they won't need to keep repeating.
Yeah, and it's such a valid point, if you think about like, why are they repeating themselves over and over again? You'd like to think another adult can take that on board. I could imagine you say that to a teenager, I think they just go straight up to the room and go, whatever. But I don't care.
But the teenager doesn't feel listened to.
Yeah.
If you're repeating something 6 times.
Yeah. And I think as well as that, going back to that actually, there's other ways of communicating. Sometimes people are very good or they're just more comfortable in writing stuff down, whether that's in a message or just writing a note. Sometimes it's just being open to different ways of communicating actually.
Yeah. I do get a bit worried sometimes when couples come and they tell me that their best communication is by text.
Okay.
I have to, I mean, you mentioned I'm quite straightforward with you,
Yes.
Sheila. I do tend to hold back a little bit with clients. I'm comfortable with you.
Yes. Yeah. Now remember, this is going out on air, Jill. Look,
Yes, I know.
so let's just make a note of that again, okay? For both our sakes, And let's maintain some level of professionalism in this.
Yeah.
Look, we're coming towards the end of our chat today. There's so much in this, Jill. I honestly believe as people we're all work in progress. And I'm a firm believer that there's always different ways of learning, of approaches, and just kind of encourage people, whether it's young people or parents or older people, just not to shut down and think that's it. There's nothing else that can be done. Because there is so much to learn and to have conversations. And like going back to that documentary last night, it was horrendous in the crisis of the young people. And there's so many reasons as to why that's happening. And then it's kind of what can we do about it? And there is actually ways as a community how we can come together. And it's like that mental health awareness training that I was very fortunate where I got funding from Gill University and the European Union, where I spotted that gap in the waiting list, the 1.5 to 2 year waiting list. And I developed this pre-recorded training, almost teaching counselling skills, because not everybody wants to be a counsellor, but sometimes they want to be able to have those skills where they know what to say and to keep somebody safe. And like, even if somebody doesn't want to pay for that training, that's fine. My YouTube channel, especially section 6, on my episode of Understanding Suicide. Section 6 is how can I help somebody with suicidal thoughts? And the thing is that there is so much we as people can do, but we need to learn it. We need to learn how to quieten down our own minds, and we need to learn how to be okay when our young person is not okay. Because actually how we react can escalate the situation. So as people, there is so much we can do. And we know, Jill, that a problem shared is a problem halved. So if you can give people the space just to talk, even if you don't agree with them, but just allow people to offload, that in itself is massive, and asking those open questions. So I suppose what I'm saying here, folks, is that please check out my YouTube channel, that check out these videos, be part of my mental wealth community, as I like to call it, and let's continue to work together. Let's not blame governments and let's work together. Let's move forward in doing something about it. And I certainly hope that listening to this podcast has been helpful, that some of the things that Jill and I have said, I hope that it may have resonated with you. And I'd love people to put in comments or contact me on social media and stuff like that. Is there anything else you want to mention, Jill?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that thing about young people and getting them to open up. I think we have to remember that people will only share their fears and their destructive thoughts, I guess, if they feel that the person they're talking to can stand it, can hold it.
Yeah.
So it's how we react quite often that will encourage a difficult conversation. If we start going into doing mode or paralyzed mode.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm too stressed for this. I've got enough on my plate already. That just makes me think of self-care. That's why, and we speak about this a lot in the supervisions, is such a problem I come across with people, that to push everybody else before them. But actually it's not selfish, as you say, it's selfless, because you have to be able to look after you first to be in a position to help other people. So
helpful,
yeah.
Helpful. Fill yourself up.
Yes.
then you can give it to other people. But people won't open up to you if they think you can't bear it.
Yes. So sometimes, again, we need to look at our own behaviours. If our children are not opening up to us, sometimes we may need to ask that question, is there something that I'm doing that's creating a bit of a barrier? And if
Which
that
might be that
case,
they're trying to protect their parent.
yes, yes, absolutely. And sometimes the parents are too close, aren't they? But it kind of goes back to us parents. It's okay to say, I don't have a clue what's going on either.
Well, they're in it, aren't they? They're in it. And sometimes that's why you need someone on the outside to describe what's going on.
Yeah, you know, and in an ideal world, everybody would have that professional help available to them. Unfortunately, that is not always the case, but that doesn't mean as people that we can't learn how to communicate in a more helpful way to get the results that we all want.
Yeah.
Jill, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate your time.
It's all right, we enjoyed it.
Good stuff. Okay, Jill, thanks again. And again, listeners, we hope you found this helpful. Let us know your comments as we're learning as we go along too. So, and if there's anything that we're not aware of, let us know. Okay, thanks, Jill. See ya.
Thank you for watching Counsellor Convos with Sheila McMahon. If you've enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel.